Hey folks, Zanzibarzi here with another Mindustry Hex Wars matchup, only this time we're playing on Eviction. It's a new server created by Larofeticus. Just came out about 3 weeks ago or so, and it's a lot like the old Assimilation server. People sometimes call it bootleg sim, but it's got its own quirks. We'll see them as the game goes on. But we're getting right into the action, so I just wanted to tell you my build order for the very early game. I've already made a slight mistake there, but you know, we'll fix it. So the very first thing is to make monos, so connect your mono factory. You get one by default, it's up in the top right corner of your fortress, your first hex. And then I like to delete the one in the bottom left. There's already an unloader there. You set it to monos. Don't forget to change it from offloading scrap to offloading anything. Monos. The unloader, when it's taking anything, will automatically supply the monos with what they need, which is lead and silicon. And then the next thing I do is make a silicon, 2 factories, you saw it there. I never used to do this in a sim with these kind of tiny but automatic or kind of built-in silicon makers. I find them very useful though now. You can see I've already run out of copper and lead, that's why we want to go for 2 mono factories right away. But yeah, the built-in silicon, it's a great little tool. I start with 1, but probably make a couple of more. I try to get to crucibles as quickly as possible, because another thing, we're in V6. I think I had 1 video on V6 before, but I stopped shortly thereafter. The Assimilation server was a lot of fun to play, but a bit laggy, and was having some problems with my video software. Anyway, yeah, 1 silicon to start with, then get a tiny bit of titanium, and then I usually get meta, and the reason I'm getting meta is for a differential generator for power as soon as possible. You'll see that shortly. But I've been rethinking that. I mean, it is important to get pretty much as quickly as you can, and it's quite cheap if you just do a single meta glass creator like I do. Just the 5 drills around it for the sand, and then add about 5 drills of lead to make it go. And yeah, so then, right, so basic silicon, meta, titanium. I usually do about 2 drills of titanium, a little bit more would be nice. Add them as you go. And then daggers, pretty much quick as you can, because the way to get new hexes, you have to use daggers to destroy the fallen hexes, which now I'm forgetting how it was in a sim. I think it was pretty similar, but the fallen, which I'll talk more about later, the fallen hexes have defense. They've got phase walls. That's the critical part that's blocking your daggers from letting you expand. So you need at least 3 daggers, I say, and most of us say. That's the kind of rule of thumb. To take a hex without, well, it will take forever. 2 can do it, but you have to have them aligned perfectly. And if you don't, it's inconvenient. You see I'm adding a little bit more titanium there. I added my graphite. I added 2 belts of graphite. I got really lucky in this hex. Tons of coal. You need a bunch of coal for my dagger setup. I do that independent dagger setup. Some people do the dagger setup right off of the core. It's up to you. I like to have the independent one, because then all the silicon I make is just being used for the monos, and yeah, you've got your own maker for everything else. This is a pretty good game for me, as you can see by the fact that I'm running out of copper lead. I'm actually considering that a good thing here, because that means I'm building quickly enough to use it all. Although there is one thing, my monos are kind of, you see they're flying all the way down towards that differential generator to get copper. That's kind of annoying. I actually blocked it right there, so they would stop flying all the way over there. Anyway, I got my differential generator. You see it's a tiny differential generator, 2 diff gens, 1 pyrite factory. That's a good ratio. We used to use one that had the 2 pneumatic drills for lead and sand, but I've since realized, and a lot of people realize, that it takes a little bit more lead and arguably a little bit more sand to get that. Oh, you can see me there rallying and idling my daggers so that they hit at just the right angle. You want to get them to shoot slight angle so that the phase walls don't bounce the projectiles right back at them. That's what I'm doing there with a little bit of micro. because otherwise all of your daggers can die to phase walls. You can lose like, 5. If you just have your daggers just running constantly at the enemy, with just 2 dagger factories, it's not really enough to capture a hex. And I'm in a bit of trouble here. This was a tree's right below me, very close by, inconveniently close by for sure. And he's already taken out my differential. And I'm pretty sure that there's no way that I'm going to be able to recover from this. I'll never financially recover from this. But we'll see how it goes. That's a big loss, but I can make another diff gen not too far away. And I should have tried to get that hex right between us as quickly as possible. That was a pretty important one because now he's got the space advantage on me. And I'm kind of scrambling for what to do. As soon as I finish the diff gen, I should have made that laser drill on thorium. So I'm kind of behind there. That was a bit of a mistake. Because, oh wait, I did make thorium earlier. My bad. I just haven't used it yet. Haven't made any air blast. You want to get up to air blast to supply your graphite and silicon quickly as you can here. I've panicking just a little bit. I usually would want to go to an air blast to make 3 of these built-in silicon generators. You can do about 3 on 1 air blast. But here I'm rushing down one. I saw that I had a ton of cold air, which is pretty convenient. And there I set up another diff gen because I think that this one's going to die. It ends up not dying, which is quite convenient. But it's going to work at reduced capacity for the rest of the time, because although I'm kind of fixing it here, I forgot to fix the sand completely, so it works at about half capacity for the rest of the game. Just give it a little fix there. Tree probably could have done considerably more damage if he funneled his daggers straight at me from here, although it wouldn't have mattered too much. He probably doesn't have all that many daggers, and I could throw down a couple arcs. I threw down a lancer there, of course, you can see. A couple arcs would have done about the same. So I'm just trying to micro my daggers. I actually don't really want to, definitely don't want to attack Tree's Hex there, because 5 daggers is going to do absolutely nothing against it. Setting up some rudimentary defenses here against a couple of daggers. Daggers, very easy to stop, a couple of arcs. Big tip for you guys if you're having any trouble with daggers attacking your hexes, a couple of arcs, maybe a lancer if you really want, and you gotta throw down a couple minutes. Oh, look at that, ugly. Using his daggers as a counter to mine. He had more anyways, so throwing down the plastic pretty much as quick as I could get it. That's a little small plastic. It's on dark sand, so 1 oil extractor is going to be enough for 1.5 blast makers. And a laser drill titanium is just about enough to supply both of them. You could probably even get a little bit of extra titanium out of that. Throw down some batteries. I would love to make big batteries there, and I'd also love to have polys already, but you can see my silicon is struggling tremendously because I haven't thrown down an air blast of silicon with the 3 built-in silicon generators like I like to do. So this isn't quite like a perfect build order vid, and we're right next to Tree, so that's kind of why I'm kind of like building as quick as I can, and it's a little bit ugly, but we're trying to make it work. So the next metaglass, I throw down a tiny metaglass like that, I don't have to bother with the huge one. Just need a little bit of metaglass for later. We're going to make thorium reactors, water extractors, etc., etc. Okay, resources are starting to tick up, but I would say at this point we are a little bit behind probably what Tree's doing. I haven't bothered to look at what he's doing because I don't have time. And now we're going to keep trying to funnel our daggers away into the fallen hexes. And I need a little bit more power. A lot of people make a bigger differential generator at this point. That'd probably be good, but since I don't have polys, I know I'm not going to build it extremely fast, and I have the time to be able to set up this all individually. Right there, it's almost as much time if I was just putting down a scheme for it. Alright, so that was important to make sure that our daggers don't go to their deaths there. Got me a new hex though, that's tremendous at this point, and Tree's daggers are, yes, completely ineffective. I need to block the power nodes, so I don't want those to get knocked out. I don't have polys yet. Polys, of course, will rebuild stuff for you when it dies. I think I'm going to build them right now, although I still am pretty low on silicon and graphite. I have enough blast now to make a crucible, actually, so should have probably done that instead of graphite, but graphite's pretty critical here as well. I do this kind of weird shaped graphite, but a laser drill and an air blast are enough to supply 2 multi-presses. 2 air blasts can do about 3, but it's not really 3, it's kind of an inefficient 3. So anyways, here I'm finally getting around to silicon, and I decide I can just go straight for the crucible since I actually have the plast for it. Kind of messed up my timing on the plast here. Should have done it a little bit later and done silicon first. But I think I'm good on power. There, I like to check the time. When did I get my first crucible out? And bam, right about 11 minutes. Which used to be a kind of fast time, but Green can do it even faster. I've seen him do it in like 8 minutes. Maybe he's even sub 8 minutes at this point. So the timings are important, and that was an impressive one. Let's make sure the daggers are continuing to work for me. It is a bit of extra micro that we never had in Assimilation to make sure that your daggers are going after new hexes for you. Gotta remember to send them out. And then remember to rally them back, like there. That's really unfortunate. Placement though, you see how they're directly facing like straight onto the face walls. So a lot of them died there. Finally I'm putting down polys, quite late on those. But since I didn't have the silicon and graphite, I couldn't have built much faster anyways, but usually would want to do polys well before you make any crucibles. Like I said, some of the timing doesn't work out here, but we are building up. The economy is starting to look okay. Throw down another diff gen, and you can see I haven't even made a new scheme for the diff gen to get rid of that old style of double pneumatic drills. I just delete them every time. Alright, we took that hex at last. Let's wall it up before Tree's daggers get there. You can see actually in the minimap at the top right, he's made a little tunnel to make sure his daggers will come straight over to this hex, but he's slightly too late. I got here first. I'll make a little defense. I didn't really need the gaps in those walls, just kind of placement stuff. We got a new hex. This is tremendous. We want to go for Thor reactors. This is actually Tree's Thor reactor design. It's not actually the current one he uses. He uses a slightly better one. He's already improved it. But yeah, we'll go for this. As soon as I get the Thor reactor, I'm feeling very, very happy in any Mindustry game, in any Hex Wars game. The Thor reactors are huge amounts of power, especially with the phased overdriver built in. You can see all that chunk of nonsense at the edge of the Thor reactor. That's making the cryo. That's making it's got a built-in sand drill to supply a phase weaver to make a bit of phase to supply the overdriver, so that these guys are going to work at 225% efficiency. And at that point, they are making absolutely tons of power. Each one is over 2k, so that's like 8k power right there, or more than that even. So tremendous power capabilities, and I make just a little bit of it for now. I will fill out that Thor reactor as time goes on. Make sure we have enough thorium here. And we'll make some more silicon, because that is clearly the resource we're running out of fastest. And then, here's the first actual other unit maker, crawlers. And these are pretty much just for expansion purposes, because crawlers do great against the Fallen, and you don't have to micro them. That's the best part. Oh, and Tree's power goes out. Oh, man. That is absolutely killer for anyone. The power going out. I want to take advantage of that immediately. At this point, it's going to be... Obviously, he can turn the power back on, but it's going to take a minute. And look at that. My independent dagger setup has accumulated, and since he was just using electrical defenses, lancers, arcs, he now has no defenses, which is tremendous for me. That means daggers can capitalize on the power issue. still want a little bit of micro. We'll rally back for a half second, and then put them on idle, so they just stand there and shoot. That's good. Get some more silicon up, but really it was Tree's mistake here that won us the game, rather than much prowess from me or speed or anything. I didn't lose power, so that helps quite a bit. Now we've got all new schemes. I've been making a lot of schemes for this eviction, including that dagger scheme. We're using a crucible. It's a fun one. And we'll see some more in a moment. I want to defend this one because I'm not sure if he's got his power back on yet. And I do see he's already got a couple daggers coming in. I want to funnel these guys, funnel the daggers into a hex that has no defenses, which the one on the right has a little bit of defense at least. So that's what the junction walls are for. They're just, telling the daggers where to go. I should mention, alright, so now it's a little bit more chill, because I know that Tree is kind of dead. I mean, I have to finish him off, but he's pretty dead. Through his own fault, sort of. So, we'll take it, though. We'll take that as a win. Where was I? I was talking about, right, so when you die in this game, in the eviction server, then you join the Fallen team. And the Fallen, I keep referring to them, but that's all the hexes that are unclaimed by players. They show up as kind of a pale green, as distinct from the lime green. But yeah, pale green, they all have that same wall around them, except the first hex where a Fallen member joins is just like a player's hex. It's got the built-in mono factory and solar panels and everything to get you started. The Fallen starts with a bunch of resources as well, which can make playing as Fallen kind of interesting, kind of fun, because if you start late and you spawn on Fallen, or you start late and you get killed immediately by a less experienced player, you can sometimes come back as the Fallen and still win by using those little bit of extra resources that you start with. Especially you start with a bunch of blasts, so you can defend yourself. I won't tell you how exactly because it's kind of can be exploited. And it's not that fun when the Fallen exploits the fact that they have a bunch of resources right off the bat to punish players who just joined. Anyway, like I said, so now we're just throwing down crawler schemes around because those are going to take the hexes. They're also going to finish off a tree. They're kind of hard to stop, crawlers. You can with the best thing to use against crawler spam is cyclones. Anything that does area damage, and cyclones with just blast or even with surge are going to do fantastic against crawlers. You can stop them indefinitely. They'll also stop daggers indefinitely, so that's really great defense would be cyclones against this. But now I'm just going to spam out units because, like I said, once I got the power down, Thor reactors, then the world is my oyster. I've made production like graphite, silicon, etc. But at this point, I'm only making independent kind of, you might call them automatic unit schemes, where they're just going to continuously generate units from whatever resources they're on. They're not from the core, basically. And I think I have one too many water extractors there. Yeah, I've got one extra water reactor. Water extractor. It doesn't really matter too much, but always remember to overdrive your stuff once you can afford to. And that's why I'm switching to a class conveyor here. Usually this would fit on a titanium conveyor, but because it's overdriven, I'm not going to take the chance that it doesn't quite fit. I may as well just use a class conveyor. But yeah, overdrivers are kind of a neglected thing, I feel like, in the past. Nowadays I overdrive everything. Phase overdriver if you really can, and overdrive dome is kind of the pinnacle which I rarely reach. And now Tree and I are just kind of talking about the game, what went well, what went wrong. I think we were very even up until his power went out, and that was a very costly mistake. Definitely cost him the game. Without that, who knows who would have won. I was struggling a bit after losing that territory right at the beginning there, but but I still had pretty good economy. I think I had the... Okay, yeah, he mentions I got the crucible up just a little bit before him, even though it was around 11 minutes, and yeah, I couldn't really afford my plast right when I stuck it down. And yeah, I go for those tiny differential powers, like 4 or 5 of them, quick as I can and then I just make thorium power, and that's pretty much all my power for the rest of the game. I've been doing these small thorium reactors. I've got well, not small, they're 10 thorium reactors. It's pretty darn big, but there's a 15 that I think it was a locomotorcock / Max Steel designed. That's very, very good. Apologies if I didn't assign that one to the right person. Maybe somebody else made it. There's some very good schemers on this server and on the Discord for this server. You can watch people and take their schemes, which is fine. I mean, you kind of need schemes to be able to compete really at all, or to be good in this mode. And there are some very good players. I guess I was going to mention at the very beginning that I am the top of the leaderboard for the moment, but I wouldn't say that I'm the best player. I've just spent the most time on the server, and a lot of my wins were against very inexperienced players. But I enjoy the game quite a bit, and play whenever I can. Finally, we have a new Hex server back out that is enjoyable to play. Now, there are plenty of other Hex, well, there's a couple of other Hex, so there's like 2 or 3, but a lot of them you have unit control and logic. Those are the 2 main things that are missing from this mode, and I really like not having them. The logic, I mean, already people complain about this being a scheme fest, right? Well, once you have logic, like, it's even more of a scheme fest, because it's a logic fest. Like, how good is your logic that you've written? And I don't really know how to write logic. I can do like rudimentary stuff, pick up some materials and put them into a core, and obviously I could copy and paste from people, and I do that for schemes, but it just, I don't know, it didn't feel right using something I didn't understand and couldn't make myself. Because at least with schemes, while I don't make schemes that are as good as some people, I can make schemes that are as efficient, usually, and that's the key part in here. They might take up a little bit more space, sorry, not a little bit less, but at least they are as efficient in terms of resource usage, and that's the really important part for Mindustry, is making sure that your ratios are correct as you are setting up different supply chains. You can see, like having that 2 to 3 ratio for air blast to multi-blast, important. I think that was the wrong. I meant to put an armored conveyor down there to stop the spillage, but it doesn't really matter at this point. Like I said, game is 1, I'm just throwing down some more crawlers to take some more space. Earlier you might have seen me put down some horizons. I really like this scheme. It's just something, this is one I came up with. All my little unit schemes I came up with, at least, so that's kind of nice. But I like to use a crucible because they're extremely efficient for silicon generation. 1 crucible can do 8 dagger factories or 8 flare factories, which is fun. Or obviously when you go up to tier 2, that uses a lot more silicon and graphite and stuff. So 1 crucible is just about enough, I think, or maybe even a little extra for 3 flares and 2 horizon factories. But they take a ton of graphite. 1 multi-press is roughly for 2 horizon factories, if I got my numbers right. And for those numbers, I'm just going by the per second values. Like here for this dagger factory, I've only done 7 actually, but 1 crucible is producing 8 silicon per second, and each dagger factory needs 10 silicon every 12 seconds. So they need a little bit less than 1 per second, which means I could do 8 for sure on there, maybe even a little bit extra. But that's why I've got that going. They take a little bit of time to get going while the silicon fills up, because the factories like to fill up to double what they need for 1 unit before they stop taking in silicon, even with a router. So that's kind of inconvenient. Just setting up some more horizon factories. as quickly as I can. I just want to flood the map with units at this point after tree's dead, just to clear it, because you have to clear the entire map before the game is won. I should add that. And to do that, you know, you got to kill all the cores. I should also add that when a core dies, a lot of the units inside of it die as well. There's a percentage chance for any unit to die, and I don't know exactly offhand, but it's pretty high for T1. It's based on the tiers of units. I think it's at least 50%, if not higher, for tier 1 units, what chance they have of dying. It gets progressively lower up to T5, although it is still there for T5. I think T5 has like a 12.5% chance, or maybe lower, but I think it's about a 12.5% chance of dying once a core is captured, if they're standing in that core and it, you know, blows up. So that's something to keep in mind for your daggers. That's another reason that I'm using really cheap units to take over the world here, and not just T3, because obviously T3 would be unkillable by anything around here, but like half the zeniths would die each time that I took axe, and that's not super productive because they cost so much. Not super productive for kind of flooding the map like this and taking it all over. Now, daggers aren't really the best choice either. Probably just crawlers, just pure crawlers, if literally everyone is basically AFK or too inexperienced to stop crawlers, or too early in their build. They join late and stuff. But it is sure fun to spam daggers like the good old days. So audio turned a bit crunchy there. Sorry about that. Don't know if that's going to be in the published video or not. We'll see. But yeah, we're back. Channel is I'm gonna try to make some more videos. I've been having some weird stuff with my video capture and computer and everything, but if it's good enough, we'll work on it. One last shout out before the game ends. I am streaming occasionally, not very often, but just occasionally I'll stream on Twitch. I'm doing my campaign, and that campaign I'm doing with no logic, no schemes, no starting resources, just trying to make it as challenging as possible. So we're going in very poor into every map, and no schemes, and just trying to make the best of it. So there we go. Good games.